Okay, for scholars, let's review factoring techniques with trinomials ax squared plus bx plus c when a is not 1. So we can either use trial and error, just try every combination till we get the correct factoring, or the AC method, which is the one I'm going to take down. Notice, folks, we have a x squared plus bx plus c, the AC method. Well, obviously, first, remove any greatest common factor. Then, identify a, c, multiply a times c, and then compare against b. More specifically, give me one. See, let me just quick sharing here. Oh, okay. So again, factor the greatest common factor, find the product a times c, and then find two numbers such that a times those two numbers n at m equals ac, and when I add them, gives me b. If we properly identify those two numbers, we can rewrite b as the sum of m plus n and factor using a grouping technique. And that will help us find the actual factoring of the trinomial. We can always, of course, need to check. So let's try a couple of examples. Let's try this trinomial. There is no greatest common factor. A equals 6, b equals negative 13, c equals 5. 6 times 5 equals 30. My middle number, negative 13, times plus. So we need to look for two factors, two numbers. When I multiply, gives me 30, positive 30. When I add, gives me negative 13. Of course, we can think of negative 10 times negative 3, that's positive 30. Negative 10 plus negative 3 equals negative 13. Okay, so let's proceed to rewrite the trinomial as follows. 6x squared. Let's try this again. I'm so sorry. Let's rewrite that polynomial as 6x squared. Then we write minus 10x minus 3x. We can rewrite it negative 3x first and then the negative 10. Doesn't matter, we get the same answer. Now grouping, what is the greatest factor between these two? Of course, that will be maybe a 3x. We'll leave behind 2x. No, 3x, sorry, 3x, not. There we go. We factor 2x, and now we leave 3x plus minus 5. It's negative minus 5. Here, what can I factor? Notice there is no greatest factor except negative 1. So we can factor the minus. Normally, we don't write minus 1, but I don't care. Let me just put it like this. So that is the opposite of negative 3 is positive 3x, opposite of 5, negative 5. And notice that now 3x minus 5 is common. We can factor out 3x minus 5. So we have what? 2x minus 1. And we are done. Let's try another example, folks. And let's try some other examples. 8x squared minus 14x plus 3. No greatest common factor. 8 times 3 is 24. And the middle number is, of course, negative 14. So positive 24, negative 14 times plus. Two numbers that gives me 24 minus 14. Perhaps we can do negative 12 times negative 2. That's plus 24. Negative 12 plus negative 2, negative 14. Okay, so with that in mind, what do we have? 8x squared minus 12x minus 2x plus 3. Grouping. Here, of course, I can factor 4x, 2x minus 3. Here I can factor -1. So we have negative 2x becomes positive 2x, positive 3 becomes -3. I can factor 2x minus 3 times 4x minus 1. 2x minus 3 times 4x minus 1 done. Let's try this other one. What do I have here? 8 times -5 minus 40 times -3 plus. The number that gives me -40, when we add, gives me -3, perhaps 8 times 5. And I need my 8 to be the -1. So -8 times +5, that would be -40. -8 plus 5, -3. With that in mind, what do I have? 8 squared and -8 plus 5 minus 8a minus 5a. Here I can factor 8a, will be a minus 1. Here I can factor, of course, -5, a minus 1. Okay, I see something weird here. Did I write this one correctly? 8a. Okay. Oh, plus 5. I got this positive here. So I need to factor out 5. That would be 5a minus 1. Okay, nice. Something was funny there. Plus 5. So now, of course, I have a minus 1 times 8a plus 5. Done. Last but not least, it's getting kind of crowded here. Let me erase. I believe this is straightforward. 4y squared plus 8y plus 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Middle number is 8. Factors of 12, that gives me 8 when I add them. Well, 6 times 2 is 12. 6 plus 2 is 8. So this one becomes 4y squared plus 6y plus 2y plus 3. We can factor here perhaps 2y, right? And then I have parentheses 2y plus 3. This is prime. There's nothing to factor here. So let me just write the 1 on purpose, even though normally we don't. It will be 2y plus 3. Now, of course, I can factor out 2y plus 3 and end up with 2y plus 1. And we're done. I have here 10y to the 4 plus 55y cubed plus 60y squared. Always we should look for greatest common factor first. In this case, there is 5 times 2, 5 times 11, 5 times 12. So we can factor out a 5 as well as y squared. So now what do I have here? I think that I factor will be 2y squared plus 55, that will be 11y plus 65, that will be 12. And now we proceed to factor this guy. 2 times 12 is 24. My middle number is 11. Factors of 24, that gives me 11. Perhaps we can do 8 times 3 is 24. 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay? So we do what? 2y squared plus 8y plus 3y plus 12. I'm going to write this one in. This is, of course, 5y squared. Now, grouping here, that will be what? 2, isn't that the same one? 2y, parentheses, y plus 8. And here we can factor perhaps the, well, plus 4, sorry about that. And then here I can factor out the 3. I have y plus 4. And this is times 5y squared. So now I can factor y plus 4 times 2y plus 3, and more lovely y squared. And we're done. Yeah, thank you. I think we are okay with that. I don't think we need another example. Let's record one last example with greatest common factor. Notice, folks, I have 15, 85, and 100. With a common factor 5. 5 times 3, 5 times 17, 5 times 20, and as well as n to the 3, n to the 2, n to the 1. That means that n will be a common factor. So 5n, and then what do we have? 3n squared minus 17n plus 20. And now we proceed to factor this guy. Let me just rewrite it here. Factors of 3 times 20, that will be 60, times and negative 17 plus. So, yep. So what are my factors here? Oops, I got stuck here, so I my pen. Okay, let's continue some drama here with my pen. So factors of 60, that gives me negative 17. Notice that both of them have to be negative. So if I multiply negative 12 times negative 5, that will give me 60. Negative 12 plus negative 5, that will give me negative 17. So what do we have? 3n squared minus 12 minus 5 minus 12n minus 5n plus 20. Grouping, of course. We can group here 3n and minus 4. We can factor here negative 5 since my leading coefficient is negative. Negative 5 parentheses n minus 4. I need to change the sign. Now n minus 4 is common factor. 3n minus 5, and don't forget the 5n. This will be the final answer. 5n times n minus 4 times 3n minus 5. Thank you.